and good evening. Good evening to some of you.
I'm sure there's
Hello.
California. Gary and I are in California. Type where you guys are. What city and state are you guys in? Type it in the chat. I'm curious as to where you guys are all located. Lincoln. Okay.
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Jersey, Arizona.
Go Huskers.
I'm buying in Arizona if you ever come across anything. Portland, Oregon. Okay.
I went to UNL for 1 year.
Jason Lee. Jason's been in several of our Zooms. What's up, Jason? He's in Laguna. Utah, Miami. Oh, yeah. Chicago, Oregon, Phoenix, another one from Phoenix. Connecticut. Nice. Dope. Love it. So if you guys are just joining us, basically, I like to kind of start these meetings off with just like my intention. And I correct me if I'm wrong, Gary, but our intentions are pretty similar. Really, we're here, number one, to give back. Pace's community has definitely changed my life. I've built my business on the back of it. I know Gary gets most of his business from people in the community. So we really want to give back. That's definitely why we're here, number one.
My number one reason for being here is to harass you, Patrick.
To harass me.
Absolutely.
Easy target to hit. But I think that, in the number two reason, guys, is we want to make money, right? And so we know that if we work together, we're going to make more money. And so I always tell the story about my first deal. I had no idea what I was doing, and I just knew enough to sell the person on the idea of selling their house to me. And then once I had it, close to them wanting to sign, I actually found somebody who knew how to handle the transaction, was a buyer, so on and so forth. So if you think of it like a conveyor belt, really, for those of you getting into this, you guys should be focusing most of your energy on trying to find motivated sellers and or agents associated with those properties so that you can get those under contract and either hold them for yourself or assign them to somebody like me, and also work with somebody like Gary who can help navigate those transactions with you. So all of my transactions I run through, most all of them I run through the same escrow office, and I use Gary for my transactions. So when it comes to real estate, generally speaking, he's got the answers. He's super, super knowledgeable. So anyways, that's my intention. And why I mentioned my intention, guys, is that I think it's really valuable for you guys to come into these meetings and have your own intention. Don't just come in here to, it's not TV, right? You should be engaging with us. You should be taking notes. You should be asking yourself the most important question that you could ask yourself is, what do I have to do? What are the steps that I have to take to get my first deal or my next deal? And bring that intention into these meetings and have questions ready for us. So Gary, that all being said, should we just do a quick Q&A before we jump into underwriting? Or do you want to?
Let's find out. Did anybody bring deals? Raise your hand if you brought a deal that you want underwritten. I don't know who took us seriously.
We gave you guys homework. If you were in our last Zoom, it was to go out and find a potential deal so that we could take a look at it and underwrite it.
All these hands going up at once. I can't keep track of them.
Somebody started a chat. Dustin, what's up, man?
Well, I actually just started talking with someone today who is open. They have an assumable mortgage. They just divorced, want to get out of their house. And are open. They have a little bit of equity or want to take some equity out and are open to, at least today was open to 0 down payments on the seller equity house. I don't think that, so I kind of want to get into buying and holding long-term. I don't think this cash flows super well as a long-term rental, but as my first deal, I could also use it as a primary residence potentially. But I've never been on one of you guys' calls, so that's just kind of an aside. I wasn't on, didn't have homework, but I don't know that I'm to the point that it needs underwritten yet.
You're doing exactly what you need to do. Yeah, you're doing exactly what you need to do, and that's take action. Okay, so where's it located?
It's here in Lincoln. So buying and holding, I kind of want to stay in my backyard.
Are you
And
willing, are you okay with sharing the address with us today so we could take a look at it?
Well, that was actually a question that I was coming to you guys or want to have answered. I see like some people seem very concerned, and I see a lot of people not sharing addresses. So when you're going out and finding these deals, whether you're going to keep them or wholesale them to someone else or flip them to another buyer, what exists to like protect you from saying, okay, I'm going to post this in a Facebook group. Here's the address. Here's, is there any form to put in there to say that,
No,
the
nothing.
student isn't going
Nope.
to.
Well,
No, and every once in a while, it even will happen in the private sub-2 group, where everybody's paid a pile of money to be a member and pledges to use the utmost, highest ethics and all of that. It happens.
Yep.
Every once in a while, you find someone who's sleazy, creepy. And, there's nobody in this room. This is open to the public, so nobody's
Right.
been vetted. There's no paywall here. It's like
Right.
this could, if you compared it between Walmart and Sam's Club, no one's paid to get in here. So
Right.
we got the whole potentially Walmart crowd here. But
Yeah.
what you could do is
You're
share
happy to like
privately
share
with
figures.
Patrick, but if he's going to demonstrate how to comp and stuff like that, somebody's going to see the address.
Well, let's do this. So yeah, just to button up what he's saying here is that like we see in sub 2 as well, right? So even sub 2 students have gone and tried to daisy chain stuff. And so what I will say is that you only have one reputation, right? And all of you guys who are listening here, what daisy chaining is when you take somebody else's deal and you shop it around, or somebody's working on a deal and you try to go behind them. That's not daisy chaining. That's just being kind of a horrible person. So when addresses are shared in these meetings, if we find out that somebody's doing that, there will be repercussions, guys. We give a lot of value in these meetings and just generally in the community. So we should be acting as a community and helping each other. Okay. So now that all being said, if you're not comfortable with sharing the address, Dustin, I totally understand it. What can we what questions do you have that we can help you get closer to the finish line with this opportunity?
I mean, being my first deal, I guess this is probably too long-winded to go through, but it's, not being a sub 2 student, how I need a transaction coordinator, right? What else do I need to be thinking about? And another question would be like, assuming the mortgage versus sub 2, I know what's kind of the difference for me, but what's the benefit to the seller, or how do I convince the seller to say, hey, instead of, letting me assume your mortgage, sub 2,
most mortgages are not assumable.
Right. So I'm guessing this one is a VA loan or something, because it is assumable.
All right. A lot of VA loans are assumable, but if it's a VA loan, the current owner has entitlement tied up in that loan.
Right.
And they may not want to let you sub to it because they may, unless they're being redeployed somewhere. But Lincoln doesn't have any military bases, so I assume this is a vet.
Yeah, it may not be a VA loan. I didn't ask him, but he says it is assumable, and that's kind of how he's positioned it. Because it's got a very low rate. It's a 2.2% interest rate. So
love that.
Being able to take that over.
Patrick's like, I'll take it.
Even I might even consider Nebraska at that point, right? What I would say, Dustin, from a sales perspective, because like my background is in sales, the way that I typically pitch it is I pitch myself as a corporation or like a business, right? Where they might ask me, well, why don't you just assume it? You can assume it, right? And I'll say, yes, of course I could. However, my limit to scale my business is there's a smaller ceiling, a lower ceiling, if that's how I'm acquiring properties. Now, if I acquire this sub 2, I'm able to do a lot more business. And then I present myself as being liquid for millions of dollars, being a partner with Pace and Abraham. I give them company information because I address the elephant in the room, pun super intended, right from the gate. Like, look, I know that your number one concern is that I'm going to default on the loan, and you should be concerned about, because that is a risk. In fact, there's a risk in every transaction. However, let me show you that I'm liquid for hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's not going to be an issue to you. In fact, the reason that we're purchasing this house is not to cash flow it, but it's for tax depreciation, blah, 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 right? So you show them on paper that I'm not getting rich off this deal, and I'm not going to invest all this money into this deal just to default. And that's the sales process, right? So I would also recommend getting a program like PropStream. That's what we use on our team, so that you can see what type of mortgage it is. You can see what the interest rate is, so that you have a general idea. Now, this isn't always 100% accurate, but it gives you a really close snapshot of what you're dealing with when it comes to liens and lien holders, more specifically mortgages.
Okay. Had another thought, but I lost.
So generally, in
So I
terms
did
of
go through a lot of that on the seller finance part. He was like, you know, you'd go take out another mortgage and pay me. And I said, well, we can do it this way. And he was like, well, yeah, I'd be open to that. I think, you know, another way, I don't know if I would be able to assume his loan anyways, because I work on contract. So I started working for a company over in London and paid as a contractor rather than an employee. So that probably won't qualify me if they go through the same conventional like qualifying.
I wouldn't
program
even bring that up as I mean, unless you really, really want the house, I wouldn't even bring that up as an option. I would just stick to sub two, to be honest. Having like sometimes I'll be on, you know, in communication with somebody like an agent or whatever, and they have questions or they're, you know, they're unsure about it. I'll send them my agent's information, my lawyer's information, my company information, you know, like all of this information. So you become an open book and you're like, I've got nothing to hide. You know what I mean? And at that point, there's a higher trust level. If you can't negotiate sub two, you either haven't built enough trust or there just isn't enough motivation for that seller to actually do it. If it is truly a VA loan, like Gary was mentioning earlier, you want to look up entitlements in that area. Where are they moving to? What are they privy to? So you have all of that information. It is possible for somebody who has a VA loan to get a second one, but they have to purchase the house as a new primary residence. So that's kind of like the caveat. I don't know. I've never done a double escrow where you've got two open at the same time, but I'm sure it's possible. You know,
really, entitlements based on the area, the cost of living in the area that you're in, the rank and years of service, and that's really, there's a little formula in there. There's plenty of websites that have calculators. Most of them are loan companies that want to get their business. So you go onto these websites and figure out what the entitlements are. I know veterans that have such large entitlements that they have up to four VA loans at any given time. So that is entirely possible. But you need to find out what this seller needs, what their intentions are. Speaking of intentions, are they planning on moving? Do they want to buy a house right away? Do they, what's up? Like I recently closed a deal with a couple active duty. They didn't put a lot of, the thing is, they just bought the house a few years ago. They didn't put much down. The market dropped a little over the last couple of years. They bought at the top and they're getting redeployed to Japan. And so, so they can be without their VA loan for a few years. So, it was more important to them to get the house sold than keep the entitlement. Plus they're in Japan, they're going to use base housing, so they don't need the entitlement right now and won't really care for at least a few years.
Yep. Right. So do you have a general idea of how you're going to structure this deal, Dustin?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to try to sub to whatever his existing mortgage is, which
do you want to sub to it because it's a sub to possibility? Do you want to sub to it because you want to buy and hold, or are you going to assign it?
I'm planning on buying and holding.
Buying and holding, okay.
I mean, I don't think that there are a lot of buyers in the group in Nebraska that I've seen, so it'd be tough to. I mean, and it depends on how much is there, right? The houses.
Funny thing, the couple I just talked about that got shipped off to Japan, he's got 4 rental properties in Lincoln.
Oh, really?
Go
Well,
figure.
there you go.
How much equity does he have, Dustin?
Basically negative. So they bought it 2 years ago. His payoff is
Okay,
three
perfect. So it's straight
320,
subject.
and yeah, he may want to get some money out of it because he's asking more. That the house is appreciated. It's pretty significant in Lincoln, but
So
I
this
mean,
is how I negotiate sub twos, and this might be helpful for you, is like treat it like a cash deal first. So like what I'll ask the seller is like, okay, cool. So you're thinking about selling the house. Awesome. Let me ask you, I'm just curious, if you were to put this on the MLS, what would you list it for? Right. And so you should already have an idea of the ARV. You should already know the market before you even get into this conversation. You should know what's sold for how much, right? And it should be very comparable. So at that point, you're either going to agree with this number or you're not. If you
right.
don't agree with it, you don't want to break rapport with them, but you want to say, hey, is it okay if like we take a look at some comparables, because that's basically how I generally run my numbers. And you want to be like, let's do this together, you and me, right? We're on the same side. You don't ever want to argue value with either agents or sellers, period. It's just not going to work, right? It's not about value. It's about, at the end of the day, does it pencil for me as an investor? And can I help you solve your problem of moving away from this home and offloading the house, right? Now, let's say they say something like $500,000. Then you go, okay, cool. So you list this at 500K. Let's assume that's a reasonable ask, right? Then from there, you want to work backwards as to like what they would truly net in that sale. If there was agents involved and closing costs and so on and so forth, then you have to know that for your own state. So
Right.
that's what I call it, equity at ask. How much actual equity they have, right?
Yeah.
So now if it's 0 or negative, you can tell them, well, look, you do the math right in front of them. You know, you're selling for $500,000 here. You got $50,000 in all these closing and agent fees and so on and so forth. So your proceeds are 450, but you owe 450 on the note. So you're at 0 equity. However, John, I'd be more than happy to give you 10,000K and go ahead and assume your mortgage subject to. And that's how you would address the sale of the property. You first want to build a contextual playing field where you guys see eye to eye on the value. And then once you agree on the value, go, great. Now let's work backwards and see how much equity there's actually here. Oh, look, there's none. Turns out there's no equity. Well, I just so happen to be able to pull money out of thin air and give it to you, right? And that's generally how these sub 2 deals work. So whatever that is, 10, 5K, whatever they're willing to walk with.
Right.
And you know, you just have to ask yourself, what's my end goal? Am I trying to cash flow it? Do I care if I'm overpaying? Some investors don't. If you know you're taking over a 30-year note, there's going to be appreciation.
Right.
So it just all really depends on what you want. But yeah, in that case, you said 2 point something and there's no equity, sub 2 all day. That's great.
Right. Cool.
And then one question
You
that I would
do
ask
need
them,
to talk to the seller about what their needs are, right?
yep, perfect. That's what I was just going to say is ask them what they need. Well, how
Yeah.
much cash do you need to move? The last sub 2 deal I closed, I asked the guy, why did you choose me? I know you were talking to a ton of investors. And he was like, well, you seem to know what you're talking about, number one. And number two, you were the only investor who asked me what my next steps were. None of the other guys were asking him like, what do you need? Where are you going from here? They were just all about, you know, let me try to convince this guy to work with me.
So in the words of Pace Morby, you have to care if there's bunnies in order to find them, right?
Right. So is that helpful, Dustin?
Yeah. One last thing, and it may not be relevant because people aren't doing it in Lincoln, but I'm curious. I looked it up on AirDNA and it would, according to them, cash flow is a short-term rental, but I don't see the market. How accurate is that typically? Do you want to discount it 25%? Or is it
How often do the Huskers play?
7 times a year? I live walking distance from the stadium, and I wouldn't think that it said 75% occupancy in South Lincoln. So
there's
it
too
just
many
doesn't
variables.
seem right.
There's too many variables, right? Like like if you comp a property, what are you looking for? Well, you're looking for similar builds, same, same bed and bath count, square footage, all that stuff. You're looking for the closest thing so you can look back at what sold and go, okay, there's proof on the market that this is worth what it's worth. When you're comping an Airbnb, you have to do the same thing, but there's a lot of details to that. Like, what does their listing look like? What do their pictures look like? How long have they been on Airbnb? How many reviews do they have? All of those things factor into SEO and how many people are going to come in and out of the Airbnb. The other thing that I'll mention is now that I'm doing deals with like big investors like Pace and Abraham, what I've noticed from them is they never underwrite their deals based off of Airbnb.
Never. I always make sure they work as long-term rental.
Because you never know where legislation is going to go.
Well, look what just happened in Dallas. A few months ago, it happened in Atlanta, and it's going to happen in more and more cities. They're going to shut it down. So you definitely do not want to base your purchase price or your purchase of a property on a potentially unstable income.
Sure. Makes sense. Cool.
Okay, great. Jason, I know Teresa didn't know how to raise her hand, but Teresa, why don't you unmute and then we'll do Jason.
Okay. Thanks, Dustin.
Teresa, are you there?
Sorry. Yes. Okay, so this
Can you
is
turn
a
your
deal
camera on?
that oh, sure. This
So
is a
much
deal
more
that,
interesting talking with somebody when you can see them.
There's a face.
well, and I usually leave it off because I work on a hotspot, and sometimes the bandwidth cuts me off. Anyway, Cindy and myself are working on this is a deal that she found in Arizona. And so, Cindy, have you unmuted yourself? I'm going to have her talk to you guys about it.
Cindy, where's Cindy or Cynthia?
Cindy Prater. No, it's Cindy Prater.
Did you make me host, Gary? Or am I a co-host?
I don't know if I have that.
We have to like.
Hey there.
You want that?
Hey, Cindy.
Yeah, there you are, Cindy. Good. There she
Can you
is.
raise
Do you want me to put
your
the
hand,
address in?
Cindy?
Yes.
She's now
Again.
on the screen.
Can you raise your hand, Cindy?
Okay, Teresa, tell me about this deal while we're dealing with tech stuff.
So Cindy's got her hand raised now.
Good,
And,
perfect.
It's so Cindy's on my team, and I sent her some listings in Arizona for a specific buy box, and she found this place, and I'm just going to let her take it from here. She's talked to the realtor, she knows what's going on with it, and I think it's a great sub two.
Cool.
Yeah. It's actually a little bit below market value, and they just cut the price by $35,000. And Gary's profit analysis sheet, we worked on that, and this couple, or the property, actually has been on the market for I think, well, 321 days. Anyway, they're getting a divorce, and the wife apparently has not been too willing to make time to show the property. So, which is probably why they've cut the price. And based on the numbers, we could actually offer them more than what they're asking, so that we could present this as a sub two and still make money off of it. What other questions do you have for me?
My question to you is, what questions do you have for me?
Well, yeah, this would be my first deal. So
Your first deal.
Yeah, we haven't
Yes.
done a deal, Patrick. We
Let's
haven't done a deal.
go. Good for you.
So,
Well, so
and
the
she-
first
yeah, go
step,
ahead.
I mean, the first step really is just like I told Dustin, guys, you want to treat it like a cash deal. And you want to get the, so there's an agent involved, yes? You want to get the agent on the same page as you as to where their equity at ask is, right? So you need to know what the note is. Did you look at the mortgage and transaction history to see what the note is at?
Yeah, I think they have like 20%. I have to go back and look it up.
Loan to value, 20%?
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
Okay.
And it's a 2 point, what's the interest rate, Cindy? The interest rate?
I don't know. I need to go back to a different.
2.8. It's 2.8.
Okay. So you've run the numbers and it cash flows as a long-term rental.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so then, yeah, the next step would be to call the agent and say, generally, I say the same thing every single time I talk to agents. Generally speaking, I basically just say, hey, I'm looking to purchase in the area. I don't ever use the word investor. I don't ever say I'm an investor. I just say I'm looking to purchase a house. And I say, hey, I'm looking to purchase a house in this area. I was checking this one out and this is perfect. This meets my needs. And then I'll ask them, are there any major issues that I need to know about? Right. Usually they're relatively clean looking and I'll say, well, this looks great. You know, I'm looking for a rental. Is there any major issues? If there's nothing going on with the roof of the foundation, the next thing I say is, well, hey, look, let me tell you who I am and what I'm looking for. I'm flipping all over the state of California. And this year, because of the success that we've had, I'm aggressively picking up as many rentals as possible for tax purposes. Generally, what we're targeting are low equity homes, which this one seems to be. It seems here that your ask is at 500K, right? Gross proceeds are going to be around 450. It looks like there's a note here for 430, which means there's about 20K in equity. I would be more than happy to pay your seller their equity and assume the loan while also paying your commissions and closing costs. Is that something that you would be open to?
Okay.
Guys, if you're on this Zoom right now, I want you to write this phrase down. Is that something that you're open to? Do not say, how does that sound? Do not say, does that work for you?
Yep. Words
Say,
matter.
is that something that you are open to? That is, I know it seems trivial, but it's not.
Mm-mm.
Because what that phrase does is unlocks the potential to continue the conversation. You're not asking for a yes or a no. You're asking, can we continue to speak? And if you can keep rapport for long enough with people, sooner or later, the market's going to beat them up so bad that they're going to say yes to a sub two. So this has been on the market forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we want to do a deal. Let's do
What's
it.
it?
We want to do a deal. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
The mortgage balance is 505. It comps out at over 700. We have a very low interest rate. It's a distressed couple. They're getting a divorce.
How much equity do they have?
Let me look here real quick.
Did you run the numbers did you say in the deal analyzer I shared with you?
Yes. No, Gary, we didn't use your deal analyzer. We used another Gary's deal analyzer.
Ooh, get out of our meeting right now.
She doesn't have, no, Gary, now Gary's on my team and he's on your team too. You guys we all just don't know it. Gary's in this call right now.
Gary Ralph?
Yes, Gary
What's up,
Wow.
buddy? Good to see you, Gary.
Yep. So
Okay, so
let's see.
where's the equity at, guys?
I'm looking.
I'm trying to see it right now. I'm looking
Well,
on.
just tell me, what do they want and what do they owe?
Oh, well, it's listed for 657. They owe 505.
Ooh,
And the MLS is over 700.
so they owe
How did
505.
how did you arrive at that comp, that 700?
There's too much equity here, guys.
Cindy did the comping.
I did the comping.
Unless I'm
pulled-
grossly incorrect, you guys got close to 90K in equity. That's a lot of equity. So this would technically, if you're trying to by most investor standards, they want to get in around 10% or lower in terms of an entry fee. So if we're at an ARV, if our after repair value, for those of you who are new, retail value, fixed up HGTV, nice and sparkly, nice and sexy, is 700K.
Yes,
70K would be our
And
top
it's
line.
already fixed up.
Okay, great.
it's,
But
Yeah,
it's,
it's already,
it looks, it has a bunch of new remodeling. It looks fabulous.
Okay, so 70K would be like the top line.
Patrick. Yeah, Patrick, do you want me to send you the address? I sent it to Gary, the
Yeah,
address.
I'm looking online right now.
I'm on PropStream.
Yeah, I could look on PropStream. I could look up.
But so just so you know, so here's what I'm going to tell you. I don't know if this is going to be a deal or not, but I want to share with you my gut feeling on it. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a deal. Okay, here's
You're
why.
looking. Oh, sorry.
By the way, again, I'm not saying it's not a deal. You never know. You got to make a call, right? You got to have a conversation, and then you got to figure out where it is. But there's three things that stick out to me. You said it's like retail ready. Maybe they put money into the property, right? So in those cases, they typically want to cash out. It's been on the market forever, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it could tell you that the seller is just unreasonable with what they want for an asking price, right? And the third thing is that it has high equity. Well, I shouldn't say high equity, but it's over that 10% mark, which will require you to not only sell them on the idea of a sub 2, but a hybrid, meaning that they would have to carry their equity. You'd have to roll that into a note. I wouldn't take the deal unless I really, really like the house. I wouldn't go over 10%. Personally, that's me. And I mean, I know Abraham, for example, who's doing deals like, and he's liquid for it. He would say no to it as well.
Yeah, they paid 701 in September of 2021. And it looks
So
like they put like 25% down.
Yeah, here's the thing with this property that Cindy didn't, I don't feel like she explained it well enough, but that's okay. The house has been listed for a long time. It's a divorce. The wife had custody of the house. She wasn't allowing it to, even though it was listed, she, for 8 months, did not allow the house to be shown and was court ordered to allow the house to be shown. That's why it's now being shown and price reduction. So that's why it's been on the market for so long. When she presented it to me, we were looking at this, we were looking at large bedrooms and bathrooms for a transition housing, sober living housing for a specific buy box that I have. And when she brought this to me, what interested me was sub 2 because of the low interest rate and
Okay.
the difference
Let me
between
ask you
what
this.
they're asking now.
It sounds like you want to hold this yourself. Can you pay that amount of equity?
No, and I'm not holding it to myself.
Oh,
What I want to do is just turn it over to whoever, you know,
you have
the
a buyer in
person
mind?
that has. Yes, I do have a buyer in mind.
They have that spending capacity?
They do have that spending capacity.
Perfect. Go after it.
But
Yeah, just do a quick assignment.
looking, and they're looking, but what they're looking for, you know, is something specific in specific areas for sober living.
Does
Yep.
this
So
fit their buy box, Teresa?
Yes, it is.
So what's stopping you from getting an assignment fee here?
Action.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, call the agent. Tell them that you're willing to pay equity.
Gary, did you have something to say about this? I spotlighted
Yeah, I
you.
think
You're
he's
on the
working on
team,
this
right?
too.
Yes, I just had a question. Before we got around to the point of where we realized that she had another buyer waiting in the wings ready with the sober living possibility, I was going to ask if, even though it had a high equity on it and people don't want to pay all that out at once, if they could be possibly talked into taking their equity in payments over time to reduce tax liabilities for the sellers.
They're not gonna have any tax what do you, I mean, they paid 700 for it.
They put 25% down and then whatever it is that they're getting out
But
of.
they have no gain.
It's
Oh,
a
I
primary
see.
residence, isn't it?
So it's not just that it's selling, it has to actually be gain against the original.
Right,
investment.
you don't pay,
all right,
you
never
have to
mind.
pay, I don't know, Arizona probably has
even if-
transfer
let me-
tax, but.
What I would say,
I got you.
there's two Garys. I don't know how to refer to. I'm gonna say
Just call me Rob.
GR. I would also just to say this, and again, you never know until you know, right? But I would say that generally speaking, it's going to be a hard sale to be like, hey, I'm going to pay out some of your equity and then let's carry the rest. It's just a tough sell, you know, for most
Well,
people.
it's
Because,
even more tough in this situation where you have a divorce.
yeah,
And
exactly.
they've been bleeding out with lawyer fees, legal fees and court costs. And they're desperate
They're
for,
not playing nice.
they're not right. So
Yeah.
this is not generally when you have multiple heirs in a probate situation, they're not going to hold paper. A divorce situation is very unlikely for them to hold paper. So you really, if you have a buyer who can afford to pay out their equity, make a quick buck on an assignment, you know, be a fine or bird dog fee, whatever, and, you know, go on to the next one.
Yeah. And so those of you who may be lost
That
with what
makes
he's saying,
sense.
by holding paper, he means creating a note. That means a mortgage, guys. So seller finance, the seller is going to carry that amount for the buyer, and there's a note, right? So it's very difficult in that situation because there's a divorce. But if you have a buyer with a high spending capacity, which it sounds like you do, that's perfect. Go after it. Tell them you'll pay every cent of equity that they have and substitute the rest.
Hey, my divorce was 10 years, was final almost 10 years ago. I've still got like 25,000 I'm paying off on that.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
But I
should've
kept
given
my
it to
house, but I kept the
Parties.
house. I did manage
There's
to
a
keep my
bachelor for
house.
interested parties.
So,
Yeah.
so what you're
I
saying
just
is to
walk away.
wholesale it or
Yeah, make a
do an
finder's
assignment like
fee.
it-
If Teresa
Yeah.
has a solid buyer and, you know, you can
she
bring the two
does.
together, then do a finder's fee or a wholesale fee or whatever you can do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Jason's been waiting
Right.
so patiently.
Yeah, I know.
Hey,
is-
Jason, what's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on? What's up?
Hey, can I tell you a
Uh,
funny story real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was literally on support with FedEx today.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, bro. Their dial
Hey,
system. If I could just
I got nothing to do with that.
can I submit a complaint here?
Oh,
No,
you giving him a hard
for me.
time because he's a FedEx driver? That's.
No, but here's what I will say. They
Hey, I'm a business owner.
a human being
This
called
is-
me back and they sorted it out. So they do have pretty good customer
dude.
service, but their automated system is horrible. Anyways, man, how are you?
I'm good. I just want to say I get so much value out of you guys. This is really, I'm not even yanking your chain, but this is my favorite Zoom. I mean, yeah, for some reason, because I'm in SoCal, whatever you guys always speak about, it really speaks to me. So, I mean, as far as the chemistry with you and Gary, like, I mean, I love it. So, just wanted to say that.
We should get a manager and hit the road, Gary.
Hey, right?
Hey, I'm the one
As
who
long
said you
as,
guys
long
need
as
to
I
start
can
a
abuse
podcast.
you, as long as I'm allowed to abuse you, Patrick, I'm there. No problem.
I think
No
I'm getting
problem.
used to it and also enjoying it, which is scary.
So, tomorrow I'm gonna walk a property. I was wondering if I could just get some advice what I should be looking for. It has a lot of water damage.
Mhm.
And yeah, just kind of, walk me through if
Yeah.
like what I should be looking for.
So, and is this an agent or a seller that you're meeting at the property?
So let me know if I'm doing this approach kind of wrong, but I have a buyer lined up. And I mean, for me, I come in a place of trust most of the time. And I mean, is it wrong of me to bring in the buyer and then have him give me his number and he's okay with me attaching my fee to it? So is that
How do you, my gut says no, but I'm only
Yeah.
dealing with, my buyers are strangers. We
Yeah.
find them, we create relationships with them, and then we trust them after we close transactions, right? So, and
Yeah.
even then, you know, they might be reaching out to my leads.
Yeah.
So my gut says no, but I don't know what kind of relationship you have with this buyer. I mean, if you guys are like friends, then that's different. But like, I always prefer to keep business and friendships, you know, like a
separate?
pretty tight
Yeah.
line.
But Patrick,
Yeah.
you're one of my buyers.
I know. And
How
we're
do we
like,
explain that?
we're like besties, right? I think we've suffered enough together.
But I
that-
do have a real estate license, so
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah, that's right. You can't bend in the rules. But yeah, man, I mean, look, that's all good. Like, I would just get in the habit of getting things under contract before you do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in terms of executing a walkthrough, I'm sure Gary has his own you know, thing he wants to add to this. But what I typically do is I'll meet either the seller or the agent there, and I'll say, hey, you know, nice to meet you, whatever. And then I'll tell them, okay, look, I'm just going to do a quick visual inspection, and then I'm going to go through with pictures and then video. And then that way they know that I'm not there to like chit chat. I'm there to like do business, and I'll visually inspect the property. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking at all the corners of the rooms. I'm looking for any type of condensation that has gone through the ceiling. And then I'm also looking in the headers of every doorway and structural hall to see if there's cracking in the headers, right? That will tell me what, given if there's foundation or structural issues to the building. The biggest thing that's going to throw off your numbers for a wholesale deal is going to be the foundation.
Yeah.
So that can range anywhere from $20,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars. I got a quote once for $400,000.
Wow.
So it can really just ruin a deal and that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be a deal. You just want to know that you probably want to go down on your numbers. In fact, one of our highest assignments we had last month was for $65,000. That was one deal, and it was for a house that they wanted like 1.7, and I got them down to just over 1. And we found a buyer for cash. But basically how I did it was I showed them that they had foundation issues.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll go through, I'm looking at, what do I need to know about the house? Is it on a weird foundation? You're in SoCal, so it's a little bit more rare down there. You might have some settling stuff or some shifting, but you're probably not going to have major issues like we do here in NorCal. But after that, then go through and take pictures in each corner of the room facing both ways. You want to take a picture of all the major units, like the HVAC and the water heater, any kind of plumbing or anything that you can get that has to do with, I like taking pictures of the drainage system as well, like the downspouts and where they go into the ground. So all of that stuff, remember, the more information you can give the buyer, the higher likelihood you're going to have of selling it. And we don't ever disposition a property without taking video. I met several times with the vice president of Investor Lift, which is a wholesale program that they have data all over the United States. And what he told me was the average of assignment raises anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000 extra if there's video on the property. So now it's, for us, it's just, you know, it's standard operation procedure. We always take videos.
Jason, just going back to something you said about getting the fee from the buyer.
Yeah.
If you're starting to charge buyers fees, then you've crossed the line from being a wholesaler to actually doing real estate without a license, unless you have a license. When you're wholesaling, what you're doing is you're selling your rights to the contract. You're not actually selling the real estate. In California, you can do 7 of those in a calendar year. After that, you need a license. The easy way around that, the easiest.
But
way
I have a realtor involved.
If there, is to have a realtor involved, then it doesn't count. If you have a realtor involved, there's.
Yeah, I'm doing all this with a realtor.
Okay, then you're good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
But the realtor cannot pay you. You can get they can handle your wholesale deal, but they can't pay you. But you're right. but you can get a wholesale fee through escrow.
Yes.
Okay,
So I have a property if you guys could help with underwriting.
Sure.
Do you want a fire damage one or a foundation one?
he loves them both equally. Well, actually, we got to get Brianna for the fire. But which one do you want, Patrick?
Let's do the foundation one.
You willing to share the
Okay,
address,
you-
Jason?
Yeah, no problem.
Is this on market?
Yes, it is. I don't mind if we're sharing it. I just want to learn from it.
Do you want me to pull it up on
It's-
the MLS? Patrick, would that help?
Sure.
All right, let me
Okay,
see
so
if I'm
it's
logged
five-
in. Hold on a second, let me make sure I'm logged in here. I think I've got to
I'm
refresh.
gonna laugh if this is already in our pipeline.
Right. Hold on a second, let me get logged into the MLS.
It's in Ventura, so I don't know if you have. this one.
What city is it in?
Ventura.
Ventura.
The Ventura, okay, no, this is my Ventura County login. Damn, it's hard to remember passwords when you're in Zoom. Okay, what's the address? Give it to me.
5329
53
Laurel.
LAURE, oh, Floral or
Yeah, Floral. Yeah, Floral Drive.
Floral Drive, Ventura. There it is, first right on the top of the list. Let me go share my screen, guys. I'll take a look. Oh, I could just tell from the outside picture, it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, this
Too
one
many,
is.
too many vehicles in the front of the house already. Let's see what we can do. Let me minimize this.
It looks more than a tear down to me.
Oh, there's depth. See now, there's a classic indication of a foundation problem, everybody. Does everybody see that crack?
That's what you're looking for.
Ooh, ooh. There's
Is
a,
there, do they have inspections and disclosures on this house?
See, I also overwhelmed by those pictures. I'm scared to even. I don't even know how to approach it.
Well, you're
oh,
gonna have
that
less
was,
buyers
that was-
for it.
that was clever of somebody to put a pen there to show the amount of the
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 crack.
gap.
I assume that this is, oh, wow, this house, London Bridge is falling down here. Wow, look at the way that crack goes through. Is this slab or is this crawl space? Must be crawl space.
Yeah.
Slabs don't move that much. I'm trying to get is there an outside? Picture from the outside of the house so I can see if there's crawl space.
Jason, were there inspections on this?
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't follow up on it because I was so overwhelmed by those pictures.
Okay.
Yeah. If you guys could walk me through it, I'll look more further into it.
Well, let's look at some of the facts on this house. That is a V1 Ventura County coastal listing.
The reason that I ask is sometimes they will go get an inspection or a quote to see.
Okay. Yeah.
That isn't always going to be accurate, but it's going to give you a general idea of where you might be with your renovation costs. This looks considerable though.
Yeah.
A cranky rooster is guarding the backyard. A cranky rooster. Maybe this is the one for Bree anyway, because Bryn can tame the rooster. Wow. So this is built in 58, a 3.2, but I saw popcorn ceiling, so that suggests that something came from the 70s or 80s. They weren't doing popcorn in I don't think they were doing it 58. This is a small house, 3.2, 6,300. It's small all the way around. And they're asking 535. I mean, you could have easily a $40,000-$50,000 problem there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's see if we can find some automated comps on this.
So, Jason, in my experience with foundation issues, like you can take these pictures, you can go take
Yeah.
video, and you can, hand that over to a contractor who does foundation, but they're still going to want to walk the property, and that's going to cost
Yeah.
money.
Okay.
So, you can underwrite this with foundation contingencies, right? What I mean by that is like, what if we underwrote this with the assumption that we're going to pay $100,000 to fix the foundation?
Yeah.
Right. Chances are that's going to be a number that will fix the issue. Right. But yeah, I mean, one of the things you could do is you call around, try to get video and pictures and see what contractors think so that you have a closer idea.
So
Okay.
here's a model match that we're not going to get to see much of. Well, it's certainly in original condition. Some bright colors and no apparent cracks. That sold for 533. So
they're
they're
way up.
asking 535 for this with all cracks and the angry rooster.
This is
I think we got to take off.
They're not realistic.
We got to take some money off for the rooster and the cracks.
What's the DOM on this?
The days on market are short right now. Let's look back at the list here. 6 days on market. This looks like a model match 2. This closed for April 3rd, so it's very recent. Exact same square footage, identical lot size, same year build, probably this is within a quarter mile. So it looks like the flip version of it. So this house has been updated.
Is it, or is it just clean? And no, it's
Well,
not. It's
it's,
dated
uh,
and staged.
New counters, original cabinets from the 50s.
So yeah, you could probably get more than 610 for the subject, but even then it's still priced way too
Way
high.
too.
Way too high. I think you got to be probably around 400 on a
Yeah.
cash price, maybe less. But yeah, as you can see, I mean, this house has got a lot of original, still a lot of its original. It looks like it might be just slab moving, but if that slab is moving that much, there's probably been some kind of shifting. Because if these are model matches, this doesn't appear to be piers and boards. There's probably some footings that have to be fixed. Yeah, that house is going to require a lot. So based on looking at this selling for 610,
What's the square footage?
25, but this one, we don't get any square. Do you want to look at the footage again?
It's
1056,
Okay.
1066, 1066. So these are very close.
so right. Jason, are you still driving? Can you take a note? I think he's probably delivering something right now.
I don't know.
Oh no, he's still rocking it in the. You can't.
Are you talking to us?
Oh, I can multitask.
So what I would do is, like how I would underwrite this is your ARV
Yeah.
times 0.83.
Yeah, I have your. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been working for me. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah.
And then so you take that, you're at 1,000 square feet, so $60 a square foot. You're at like 60K. I just call it 70 minus whatever a contractor is going to tell you for that job, right? And then minus your assignment. And so if your purchase price is I generally look at this on points. So if I'm assigning something and it's like 600K or below,
Yeah.
the assignment will burden the deal if you get greedy. So I generally do like 3 points. So if I'm selling something for 500K, I'm making 3 points. That's 15K.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, so those numbers are your ARV times 83.83, excuse me, minus $60 a square foot, minus whatever a contractor tells you for that foundation, minus your assignment fee. That equates to your maximum allowable offer.
I've been underbidding in this area, and like, yeah, my numbers were way off. So once I got your underwrite, it's been helping a lot. So I appreciate that.
Just remember, when you see a foundation problem like that, that's going to eliminate a lot of potential flippers. 'Cause
100%.
They won't want to deal with it. So it leaves you with just a certain echelon of people that do flips that'll take that on.
Yep.
So-
And so here's the other thing I'll tell you as well. Gary's spot on 100%. And so, I mean, if you end up getting under a contract for a reasonable price, let us know. We have 15,000 vetted buyers in California, and we've got really, really strong relationships with super strong buyers. But one thing I would say is that if it's on market and it doesn't sell within 14 days, it's not a deal, and it's not going to be one for quite some time.
Well,
Even
see
if
what
I
you
get
can
it
do,
under-
Jason, and bring it to Patrick. Seriously, see what you can negotiate with them.
What I'm saying is that if you don't get it, if you don't see that thing go under contract
Yeah.
at a reasonable price in 14 days, the seller's not
Okay.
motivated.
They're not. Yeah. Got it.
Hey,
'Cause what we
look, they've got an angry rooster keeping everybody out of the backyard. They got it.
100%.
Motivation
Yeah,
enough. Well,
that's generally what we see is 14 days. So yeah.
well, they are on a little crack, so you never know what state of mind they might be in if they're doing that much crack every day.
Guys, can we get some love in the chat for all of Gary's jokes, please?
Man, I'm telling you, you guys are the best. Thank you.
I mean, he's just like one-liners today. Love it.
Every day. Yeah.
Jason, is that helpful, brother?
Man, it's yeah. Yeah, it's more than helpful. Thank you.
All right, bro. I want to help you quit your W-2. Although I do appreciate all the work with FedEx.
No, this is my business. I'm a business owner. I have
okay.
yeah, I have a trucking company through FedEx. So
Oh, love it. Good for you, bro.
but well, yeah, once I go full time into real estate, I'm gonna put on a driver and let it by myself, and I'm gonna be 100% real estate.
Well, you should be driving for dollars every day, right?
Oh, well, I am.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
I do that all the time.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know if you
Thank
get
you.
something under contract, man. We'll JV.
Yeah, I will.
Love it. Cool, man.
I think
Eric
next up
Barnes.
is Eric, huh?
Eric Barnes has been patient. Got a lot of patient people in this Zoom today. Eric, what's up, brother? You want to unmute?
Sorry, trying to get the
No,
Can
all
we
good,
interest
bro.
you in a crack house, Eric?
What was that?
Can we interest you in a crack house?
Not at all.
No,
I want to say hi.
because I
first of all.
know who's got somebody who's got a line on one, just in case.
No.
Yeah.
That looked really bad. This is my first heard of meeting, and I can already tell I'm definitely in the right place to ask some of these questions. So, just a little bit about what I'm trying to do. I want to be an end buyer, and specialize in agent outreach. So my first question is, could you go over that? Could you re-say that conversation that you, Patrick, that you had with the realtor? And then second, any advice you guys could give me for picking a market out of state? I'm in Maryland currently, but I've been trying to figure out where I want to start looking because Maryland doesn't seem to be really good right now for me.
Okay, and then so your goal is to buy and hold.
Yes. I want to do
Okay.
long term. I don't want to do short term or midterm.
Got it. Okay, you're a smart guy. Okay, cool. Here's what I'll do. I'll send you this article. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
This is a really good article that I like. And it breaks down in a very intelligent way the best cities to invest in when it comes to rental properties.
Perfect.
And then so your other question was, how do I approach an agent? And you like what I broke down earlier for like a sub 2?
Yeah, when you first started saying it, the Wi-Fi cut out. And the last thing I heard was I wrote down was you said you were willing to pay your seller's equity of, and then it cut out. So could you start at the beginning and kind of go through that again?
Yeah. So generally I mean, I typically say the same thing every single time. I'll say, hey, John, I'm just calling about your listing on 123 Main Street. This looks great. I'm buying a property in the area. Can you tell me, are there any issues with the roof of the foundation? They'll go through the condition and they'll be like, okay, awesome. Well, let me tell you who I am and what I'm looking for. I own a company. We do flips all over the state. And this year I'm trying to aggressively pick up properties to, cover tax purposes. That being said, we're generally targeting low equity homes, which this one seems to be. And then I'll just run them through the numbers real fast, right? So you're asking 500K. So gross proceeds are going to be around 450. It looks like there's a note on this for 430, right? So I'd be more than happy to pay your seller's equity at 20K, pay your commissions and all closing costs, and assume the loan. Is that something that you and your seller will be open to? And you stop talking and you let them talk, right? It's either going to be a yes, no, or what the hell are you talking about, right? I don't bring up sub 2. I just tell them I want to assume the mortgage. Is this something that you're open to, this idea of assuming the mortgage? And so, it's going to give you a temperature or a temp gauge as to like, what kind of agent are you dealing with? Some agents are very lazy. They don't want to do any work, right? And some agents, they can't help it. And it's not their fault. They're conditioned to have a retail mindset. They don't work in the investor world, right? They're taught and they're conditioned that it's highest and best. There's a fiduciary line in the sand. They don't talk to buyers. It's agent on agent, right? So like you have to figure out, what kind of agent am I dealing with? Are they open to working with me? And how am I going to get it closer to the finish line? Right.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so the other thing I will say is that, if they say no, right? So like seller finance, for example, or subject to, or assumptions, if they say no, don't let the conversation end there. The next thing out of your mouth should be, oh, so you've already talked to your seller about that option? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, no, but, right, they're actually answering for their client, not on behalf of their client. And that's a fiduciary difference that you want to make sure that you differentiate, because that's going to get them thinking, oh, wait, I'm actually answering for my client. And once you get that information, then it's like, well, look, I'd love to continue the conversation if they're open to it. And that's your only goal, is to continue the conversation. And they're either going to say like, well, send me an offer, or, follow up with me, or, what does that look like? And then you just kind of break it down for them.
Nice.
One of the other things that I like to do is use third-party stories. Like I'll say, oh, I just closed on a property down the street, and they'll be like, oh, this guy, what an agent hears is this guy performs. He's not going to waste my time. He's going to bring money to the table, negotiate, and close.
So, okay, using that example, would it be a good idea for me to try to JV with someone, because I, like, being a newbie, having no experience, I couldn't use that line?
Sure, why not? Why can't you? Have you ever heard of Pace's saying, buyers are liars, sellers are worse, and agents are horrible?
He
Yeah.
doesn't say agents are horrible.
Yeah, you're a buyer, therefore you are a liar.
Okay.
Look, I've been the truth all the time, but you seem like a nice guy. As long as you hold the intention of helping people in your heart, just remind yourself that's what you're doing, and you'll always be right. You'll always be okay. And that's what I tell agents this all the time. Look, if you have a problem, I've got tools. If you don't have a problem, then I don't want to waste any more of your time. But John, I'm looking at 123 Main Street, and this has been on the market for 90 days. How many offers have you got to ask? Okay, well, I'm giving you over ask. The only difference is I'm assuming a loan. Now I'll ask you again, John, is that something that you're interested in? I'd love to get your commission paid.
That's nice.
Right?
Continuing the conversation. Yeah, that's nice.
100%. And you're always on their side. I'd love to help you. I'd love to pay your commission. I'd love to find a way over this obstacle of not being able to sell this house that's been on the market for 100 days. Right? You're always bringing that up. right? Some agents there's not gonna be easy to work with. You know right away, it's like, okay, I'm never gonna be able to work with this guy. So
Perfect. Thank you. That was exactly what I was looking for.
yeah, 100%, man. Thanks
We
for
got you
joining.
covered there, Eric. You're good?
Perfect.
Good. Thank you, sir, for participating today.
Yeah.
Hey,
Thanks.
everybody, I just want to show you something real quick. I'm going to share my screen. This is circle inside where you join the meetings. Way up here in the right, there's this tiny lettering and not so bold as it just says past. I mean, we're in the upcoming, right? If we start with the main page and we click, we're looking at all the upcoming, but if you click on past, here's everything from the past. Some of these were recorded in Circle, but a lot of these well, this is today's, so that doesn't count. Oh no, it's future. These are current. Let's go back to the past. All right. If I click on here, there's the YouTube link for the recording. Makes sense? So you can find these recordings. So all our previous sessions are under past here and just find them. Today's the 28th, so that one's obviously not there yet, but last week, the week before, click in, there's the YouTube link. And it'll take you right to the recording. The last thing I want to do is see that now.
Whoa,
Okay.
am I that handsome in real life?
No, you're much better looking in real life.
Oh, thanks.
And much taller looking too. Well,
I
you are
am.
tall.
People are
You're a big
surprised when
guy.
they meet me in person. They're like, wow, this
You're
guy's
what are you, like 6'3"?
No, I'm not that tall. I'm 6'1".
6'1"?
Gabby has a question. How do you pay the real estate agent's commission? Factor in the purchase price.
You put it in the contract that you're going to pay it, and escrow will collect it and pay out the realtor. Very easy.
Yep. Distribute funds into escrow and they get paid. It's like magic, really. Transaction.
Amy's got her hand up. Did you know?
Amy, what's up?
Yeah, I just had a question. You were talking about, now I've just lost it. Oh no.
It happens to me all the time.
So you were talking about making an offer to a real estate agent, and I had a question about it. Oh, what do you do if they ask for something in writing and it's easier to explain it over the, in person? Do you give them something in writing? What do you do then?
Yeah, I do. I have an email template that I basically say, hey, John, thank you so much for taking my call today in regards to 123 Main Street. As mentioned on the call, in order to optimize your client's investment, I can pay out their equity and assume their loan subject to. And we do these transactions all the time, so on and so forth. I've CC'd my agent. If you have any questions, please let him know. He's more than happy to jump on a conference call. I've also attached company information because I'm aware that default is the main concern with these types of transactions. As you can see, blah, 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 blah. I'm very important, so on and so forth. But basically,
So is it just like a page long, like 2 paragraphs?
no, but yeah,
about how
like 3
long is it?
paragraphs. And in there, I
Okay.
also break down the equity. This is your asking price. This is what's on the note. Proceeds. This is what your seller is going to net. This is what I'm offering them, because I'm paying all costs associated with the transaction and I'm paying cash to your seller. This is their true net. And essentially that's how it's broken down.
Okay, and I do have another question. So I'm new here, but I'm not new to real estate, and I'm just wondering if this is the right place for me, I guess. So I bought off the MLS and done Burr, but I would like to do creative financing, and I'm just not sure that this is, am I in the right place to begin as creative finance, but not as a new real estate investor?
Yeah, that's a great
am I
question. Yeah,
in
and
the
so
right
let me give you
place?
I'll give you my take on it. So I'm the kind of person who has to know more than they should know before they really start taking a lot of action. Gary knows that.
Stop
But-
overthinking it, Patrick.
Yeah, that
I
should
used
get
to,
back
I used to
number
scream that at him for all last summer. Stop overthinking it.
And so what I would say is that
When was
yes,
the last time I said that, except by example? It's been
probably
a
like
long
yesterday,
time,
today.
long time, no, a long time.
time.
You don't do that anymore. You got past yourself.
Amy, what I would say is that like, yes, you're in the right spot because you're going to be able to scale faster with creative finance, as you already know. Burr method's great, but you can only go so far, right? Especially with the lending environment that we're in today, I don't think you have any other option. Especially in my state, like it's just not going to happen. You're just not going to buy cash flowing assets. So that all being said, I wouldn't worry too much. I know this is so ironic that this is coming out of my mouth, but I wouldn't worry too much about knowing how the transactions work, but know enough to sell the idea of working with you in that type of transaction. The other piece of advice that I would give you is number one, get really good at underwriting these types of deals so that you know if it's an opportunity just by looking at it. Like if it's in California, I don't even need to pull out a spreadsheet to tell you if it's going to cash flow or not. I know the numbers that well. Of course I do once I go through it, but get good at underwriting. The second piece of advice is meet somebody like Gary, an agent who knows what the hell they're talking about, who knows how to underwrite, and who knows how to do these creative deals so that you can always rely on them to help you in situations where you need it, to represent you in situations, and also to be there as a light of authority. I pull Gary in all the time into my emails, text threads. Hey, I've got somebody who's a licensed professional who knows what the hell they're talking about. I'd love to get on a conference call. We've got nothing to hide. Right. So that would be my advice, is to find somebody who knows how to do these transactions, as well as an escrow office, and just start getting in there and making mistakes. You know, the only difference between somebody who has not found success yet and somebody who's massively successful is the amount of mistakes that they've made. Successful people have just made a ton of mistakes and they keep moving.
Okay, great. That answers my question. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Okay, so this could be the week. So far, we haven't heard about any potential cancellation, but Friday night, Hayes himself will be with us with the latest chapter of the Elephant Challenge, continuing on to Saturday and Sunday afternoon. So unless he cancels, this is the big week.
He canceled our interview, but I think that has to do
Oh,
with this.
well, he's, you know, his
I think it's,
Pace's schedule is very fluid. You just
Yeah.
never know from minute to minute. Things are constantly moving around, even though they're on a big Google Calendar and he likes to show it off. I don't know if it got canceled. He's running family night tonight for sub-2 members. So he could be talking to 500-600 sub-2 members right now, even as we speak. But yeah, this is the latest chapter of the Elephant Challenge this week. So be sure to show up on Friday. Be sure to show up on Saturday, Sunday. Dustin sent me a private message. Patrick, I
have a hard stop because I got to get on the phone, Dustin. I do apologize. But what would be really cool is if I could talk to your seller on a live Zoom. That would be cool. I don't know if you want to wait that long.
I was actually going to suggest something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, see if you can schedule them. I think we're going to be rescheduling this for what did we say, Monday?
All right, so let's talk about that. Pat, I think we've been doing fine on Wednesdays, but Patrick's been wanting to reschedule to Mondays. Would you guys be able to make Mondays?
Well, hold on.
Mondays
So let me look at the calendar real fast because you did an amazing job. I mean, we don't really have any other conflicting leader meetings. We could stick
There's
with
one before us.
Yeah, but we're way cooler than they are.
You're so
guys?
impressed with yourself, Patrick. I think
I'm just trying to
I think you need to stand in the mirror in front of the mirror for an extra half hour today.
I'm just
so
feeding.
you can just soak in all that admiration.
I'm just feeding our attendees propaganda. Hopefully they'll believe what I'm saying.
Attendee propaganda, huh?
Attendee propaganda. Hey guys, okay, so we're gonna end this real shortly here. Before we do, are there any real pressing questions?
Well, yeah, Fallen Hodge, why are you asking this privately? Hi, Gary, as a realtor, what are some things you can't do on the investor side? And I think that's a really good question. I won't wholesale. I think there's a conflict of interest, a realtor being a wholesaler, unless that realtor is part of a brokerage that just does wholesaling. Then, but I think there's a huge conflict of interest.
What was the question? What will you not do?
What would you not do on the investor side? And the truth is, if you are a realtor and you're thinking about things like that, talk to your broker, because every brokerage is different. They all have different rules, different tolerances for risk, and different levels of errors and omissions insurance. So you definitely want to talk to your broker about what's cool. Look at the policy manual if you're with a big brokerage firm or a national franchise or Fathom like I am. And our policy manual is like 100 pages. I've read it thoroughly several times just to make sure I understand what the company tolerates and what I'm not allowed to do. I'm allowed to work with wholesalers like Patrick, but I'm really not supposed to be one. I also personally don't believe in double ending deals. So I will not represent both sides in a transaction. Stuff like that. But anyway, guys, you got to get on the phone, Patrick. We've gone over our normal hour anyway, which is fine. We do that all the time. But do we want to reschedule this or do we want to stick with Wednesday?
No, let's leave it for Wednesday. It looks like Pace is going to start doing the elephant challenge. I just didn't want to conflict with Pace or any other leaders. So if Wednesday works, let's just keep doing
We
it.
never know when Pace is going to do something. We know
true.
what he, right? It got canceled. We could get punted yet. He could realize this is July 4th weekend and he wants to be flying around with Grant Cardone somewhere, You never know with Pace. So,
Right.
or
Guys,
Tony Robbins and could call him up and say, let's go fishing. Or
yeah, right.
Jerry Norton I have no idea. I think he doesn't usually reschedule more than once. So I think
guys,
we're in for a treat this weekend, guys.
Let's leave these guys with something to do, because that is the most important thing. Don't just show up to these meetings and listen, guys, engage, but also take homework away from this. Get on the phone, call some agents, get on the phone, call some sellers, go after some deals and bring those to our meetings so that we can help you get across the finish line, guys. That's the point of these meetings. Besides Gary's amazing comedy, I mean, he's super funny, guys, but that's not the only reason why we're here. Okay, so bring your questions, bring your deals that you're working on so that we can help you guys get closer to the finish line. We will see you next week. We love you.
Yeah, I'm just pasting a link. Quick, grab it, guys, because I'm going to end the meeting.
Bye, guys.
Everybody want that link? Grab the link. Grab it now. All right, 10,
Patrick, I'm
9,
gonna
8,
send
7,
you
6,
the
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Goodbye.